the Lord's not going to leave me. Like, even if it is in France, like, he will be with me in France.
Welcome to the Created to Be podcast. We're back for another week, and it's just me and Justin today.
Yo.
So welcome into the show. We do have exciting news that we have a special guest coming on the show later.
Yes.
So we will have a voice other than just the two of us, so look forward to that.
A familiar voice.
Yes, actually, I was going to kind of tease listeners to say, hey, this is a guest who has done a few podcasts with us. So maybe just take your guesses. Take your guesses now. But in the previous episodes, we've done an adventure episode. I know we teased that last week as well. But one to go back and maybe listen to because we have some fun stories. And that was with Brad Smith. And of course, Darius was with us. And then last week, we had Coach Chase Brooks on to talk about his story. And that was just a good conversation just about just his own story of waiting and getting opportunities and how he navigated that as we continue talking about these topics about off-season. And we've talked about habits. We've talked about perspective in the off-season. And this episode today is kind of bridge those expectations versus reality as you transition to something new. And maybe as you're in a season of waiting. And then also talk about why change can be hard, but also like pros and cons of change. So we're going to talk about that on the front half of this podcast. In the back end, we're going to have an interview. And I think it's just a really cool way to be creative today with this podcast because we have not done a remote interview, which we're excited to try.
Yes.
So anyway, that's going to be fun. All right. So I had, for the stretch time today, I did want to ask Justin this question just as a way to get into this topic. With the way that coaches in particular have moved around so much, I wanted to see if Justin could name, there's about 10 I have on this list who, these are football head coaches, okay? So just keep it in that realm of Division I coaches who have had the most moves in their career. We're going to see if Justin can get at least 5 of the 10 that are on my list.
Oh, gosh.
Here we go. We don't have Darius to help you today.
Okay. We'll do it.
Try. Go ahead.
All right. Who am I? What's the question?
The question is, what are people who have moved around with the most stops on their coaching journey?
Oh, gosh.
Football coaches. I have a list of 10, and you're trying to get 5. We're going to see if you can get 5.
I'm going to go first off with the recent national champ. I'll go with Signetti.
Okay. He is on this list. Can you name any of his former stops?
Well, I know he was head coach at IUP, and he was head coach at James Madison. And then, obviously, then he went to Indiana. Those were the head coaching. I also know he was at Alabama because they always talk about how he's at Bama with Saban for a bit. Outside of that, I do not know where he's been.
So I do want to say,
I think he coached with his dad. His dad was a really great coach for many years, and so I don't know what that location was.
So I think that one thing I want to make sure, because Justin, you just mentioned this, that is included in this, is that it's not just head coaching stops, but any kind of part of their stop.
Well, there's many that it takes so many different stops to get to a point.
So per the internet, and I don't like that it gave me this stat because it says 10 plus. So it's not like super accurate.
Okay.
Some of these are accurate and some of them are, what it is. But okay, so yes, he's number 5 on my list.
Okay.
Who else?
Oh, man. Well, you got to think, because some of the ones that have been in a place a long time doesn't mean that they're not really going to be on the list.
While Justin thinks about that, a thought that just came in my head that I think is important when we think about change and transition is that in order to get certain, this is kind of like a no duh, Bethany, but to get certain positions, you do have to get experience at a variety, like for a long time of experience stacked up. And sometimes you can't get the experience you need for whatever your goals are unless you change. So I remember growing up, of course, a lot of kids, they want to go pro, whatever. I loved basketball. And I remember not wanting to leave our house that I grew up just loving when I was like that. To me, that was our childhood home. We moved to several different homes, but this house in particular was like I bonded the most with, and I could go play basketball outside every day, soccer, whatever. And we were having to move, and I was devastated. And my mom, I don't even think she remembers making this comment, but she told me she was like, Bethany, if you want to play in the WNBA one day, you're going to have to get used to moving. And because they, make deals, trade teams, all this stuff. And for whatever reason, that like made sense to me. Like I was like, okay, that's logical. And so I think that just the reality is to get, and I did not go pro, obviously, but that has stayed with me through the years as we've kind of had to make hard decisions to transition to new places. And some people can, have a better time. We talked about people who are adventurous. Sometimes people can move forward like that easier than others. But I know that I would get attached to things. So it was very hard to just move forward. But that's just like a reality. If you have this goal of being at a certain level or place, you're going to have, change is inevitable, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And you have to get used to it. So anyways, I've chatted for a little bit to give Justin some time. So who else?
I'm going to go in the ACC for a bit. I think Manny Diaz has been to a lot of spots. Is he on there?
He's not on my list, but that doesn't mean that he hasn't. I feel like there's some, you might be thinking too hard about it. Like there's some pretty obvious names on this list.
There's some pretty obvious names.
Let me see. I'll tell you there's two current SEC coaches on this list.
2 current SEC coaches. Well, that's helpful. All right. Kiffin's been to a lot of places.
He's on my list.
Yeah, Kiffin is the great shifty man.
He's actually number 2 on the list with 11 coaching stops.
Wow. Okay.
Including Fresno State, USC, the Raiders, Tennessee, USC, Alabama, FAU, Ole Miss, and LSU.
Sark's been to a few places.
He's not on my list either. One was a former Mississippi State coach.
Oh, was it? Beamer was here for a little bit. No? Former? Are we talking about Mullen?
Yeah.
Wow.
8 to 9 coaching stops, which again, not super accurate. I feel like the internet could have done better for me.
Well, who's the other SEC guy?
I don't want to tell you. He's new within the past couple of years to the SEC.
Okay.
From the West Coast. Well, not like originally, but moved from the West Coast. He was coaching on the West Coast.
Oh, goodness.
Replaced a legacy coach.
Oh, you're talking about Kalen DeBoer.
Yeah.
Okay.
So also 10 coaching stops.
Okay.
Per the internet, guys, they could have fooled me.
He's just won so much everywhere he's been. I didn't know he'd be at that many spots.
Yeah, 10 coaching stops.
Okay. Interesting. I'm not.
The number 1 on my list is kind of surprising because he was with an NFL team for a very, very long time. Legacy coach as well.
Oh, you're talking about Belichick?
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't realize he had been at so many places. It says 15 plus.
Yeah. Well, he was a defensive coordinator for a lot of those years. And so he bounced to each of those different spots throughout the NFL.
Yeah. So crazy because I didn't expect that. So a few of the other ones, I feel like you'll know this one, Rich Rodriguez.
Yeah. Yeah. Rich Rod was West Virginia early days and turned that place into a juggernaut. He couldn't win the big game. Couldn't win like the huge game to get them over the top. Then he went to Michigan, and that did not work out very well for him. And then he's kind of resurrected his career back at West Virginia.
I do wish Darius was here today because I think he'd be like, how do you know all this, Justin?
Stuff that I shouldn't know.
11 plus coaching stops. Willie Fritz.
Yeah, he's at Houston.
Yeah, I don't even know who that is. I'm sorry, Willie.
Yeah, I don't know that super well, but I know the name.
10 plus coaching stops. Butch Jones at Arkansas State.
Yeah, Butch was at Tennessee for a time. That was one of those coaching stints that didn't work out well for Tennessee for many of those. They had a rough stretch.
Again, could be more accurate. I probably could have pestered it more to give me exact things, but 9 plus coaching stops for him.
He was also at Alabama for a season with Saban.
Okay.
That was the Saban, rebuilding coaches, like the former head coaches would go and they called it Saban University. They would just go and
that's what we should
serve.
Look at one week is like Coach Saban's coaching
We
tree.
have some former head coaches that we have hired here. Like Brent Pry is on our staff, helping with defense, I believe. And then we just hired a really good offensive guy that was a former head coach. Man, why can't I remember? But Coach Levy's got an amazing staff with a ton of experience.
Yeah, I just think to see, I'm sure somebody has put that together of like Coach Saban's tree that he has. All right, Matt Campbell.
I would
Iowa
not
State.
have guessed that. He's not at Iowa State. He's at Penn State now.
Oh, Penn State. Internet's wrong.
But he was at Iowa State for many years and had many chances to leave Iowa State, but stayed with them. Of course, he coached Brock Purdy.
Okay.
And had a lot of success. Of all places, Iowa State consistently winning 8-9 games a year. I think 10 one time, a couple times. Yeah, now he's at Penn State, and I'm rooting for him.
Okay.
I like him a lot.
And he had eight coaching stops. And then Deion Sanders, which didn't, I don't know that it's so much about like his coaching journey as much as like just some major transitions. Like he was high school coached at Jackson State and then Colorado. So like he just having not so many like stops along the way, but a variety of levels of experience. Yeah. So that's just a really quick stretch. We won't take too much time on that. I just wanted to kind of quiz Justin on that. But we're going to just mention a few things about why change can be hard. I've talked to a few athletes lately that have moved here and are on, they're starting their year at Mississippi State. They've transferred from other schools and are about to start their seasons. And I've just found it interesting just in listening in these conversations, how some people, they transition and it's actually maybe a better fit for them because they have extended family that's closer by. And so they're like excited for that opportunity for family to be able to come watch them play easily, stuff like that. Or others who are like, I'm just now realizing like I left that community and having the reality set in of, oh man, it's not the same because I could probably just go get coffee with them or whatever. And now I can text them, but it's different. So a variety of, when you move, you have opportunity for things that didn't happen before, but then you're going to miss sometimes, if depending on where you move from, you're going to miss what you had. I know when we moved here, I had made really great friends in Dallas, Texas, and that was not expected, I would say, because we moved from Austin to Dallas, and we were only there a year. So my expectation was very low for like what our quote unquote community would look like. But because of the type of school we had our kids in, which was a mixture of like homeschool and going to school, I made friends really fast.
Yeah, some super moms.
Yeah.
And dads.
So that was unexpected. So when we got the opportunity to move here, I know that was one of my biggest things that I was grieving was the loss of that like community. And we had great community in Austin too. And it was definitely hard to leave, but a lot of our community was changing in Austin at the time we left because we got a different pastor at the church. And so our friends, like life naturally moved people to different places. It wasn't anything bad that happened. It was just you kind of move on too with your kids as they age. So you're in different places and schools and things like that. But that move from Dallas to here was very hard because of that community. And so anyway, we've settled in now. We feel better. That was hard. I don't know if anybody else feels that way, but when people would be like, oh, are you settled in? I would get so frustrated by that question.
Yeah. We're like, no, we're not.
I'm still ticked. No.
We got very blunt sometimes. We're like, no, actually.
Yeah, we're really struggling. So anyway, change isn't always about learning a new place. It's about leaving an old one and being able to manage both of those things. Because we lose things that we think about, that we rarely think about is the point. There was predictability before, there was competence, how your coach ran practice, you knew how the campus was that you were on. You leave those relationships that one of the things that I know really has impacted me through the years is if you've been through life a few years with people, you build history together. Mm-hmm. And so then you just get in these conversations where you don't have to explain yourself.
Yep.
Which is really great. And then you leave those relationships and that might be something you don't really think about. That's just kind of built in until you don't have it anymore. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh man, these people don't know me. And so anyway, that I think is one of the hardest things about change. Also like your routines and your comfort. I mean, you crave familiarity once you get that. And
especially as an athlete.
Yeah.
That structure and the kind of the monotonous of every day, but you see the benefit of it and the discipline of it and the results for yourself. It's nice.
Yeah, but there's, people that get into, I want to just speak for those who get into the portal. They're not always chasing money. And it can be filled with a lot of uncertainty and anxiety. But at some point in an athlete's journey, or if a coach has to make a hard decision to leave and go somewhere else, it's not always like personal, as far as like personal between the coaches or fan base or whatever. It's like you're looking at your future, and you might not even want to do it, but you kind of have to do it. Like coaches are generally, I think, pretty clear about their rosters and project what they have for you. And the athlete gets that information, or coach, assistant coach, whatever, and you kind of know where you're going to stand. And so then sometimes you may have to make those hard choices. And I have listened to several athletes who have either transitioned here, or transferred here, or are leaving Mississippi State. And it's not always like this clear cut, like, oh yeah, no big deal. Like the portal is a very stressful place. Yeah.
I remember being on one of the original podcasts here, like one of our first ones with Claudel Harris and Josh Hubbard. Great one to go back and listen to. And I think we were talking about like authenticity and like transparency and vulnerability. We're talking about those things. And he was talking about how when you go into the portal, how you have to get very vulnerable again. And it's like a exposure piece. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I did not even think about that. You just think the person's going in for another opportunity, maybe a little extra buck, whatever it may be. And it's like, man, this is not easy. I'm having to put myself out there again. I'm having to go through this process again. I hope I get that opportunity.
Right.
Sometimes it's just assumed like, oh yeah, they're all going to get so many going to the portal and don't find another spot. And so it can be a little bit of a wreck emotionally trying to find that fit.
But we all probably have those moments where you're faced with a hard decision about I'm comfortable, or like, but I see there's some kind of boundary or barrier I'm going to have to step over to get to what's next in my life. And that boundary or barrier is the transition. And we all have those moments. I mean, those can be like life changes, like going from being single to being married. That would be a boundary that you have. A boundary in a sense of like this line of like, I haven't been past this point. Or even, I know when I was training for a marathon, I will never forget the day that I ran my 14-mile long run, because I had up to that point only done half marathons. And so physically for my body, that was like a boundary of I've not crossed over that into what 14 miles feels like in my body, So that was a transition of sorts for just like an experience of, can my body handle that? I have no idea. So all of us have. Oh, and I'm happy to say, like, I was elated. I had such a great run that day. I was like, oh my gosh. But I did feel like I'm in this unknown land. I don't know what I can handle. And I've never run more than 26.2. Because that's all the race required. But anyway, so I don't know beyond that. But, you have these changes that you sometimes feel like you have to make. And some people, like I said, embrace those a little bit better than others, and are okay with that. But for some, it can be obviously a real challenge. And I know that when I came to Mississippi State, I walked on, and I remember coming the summer before my freshman year and of college, what would be my college freshman year. And Coach Fanning told me after the camp, she said, we'd love to have you walk on. The other freshmen are coming in 2 weeks to start workouts in July. And I got back in the car, and my mom was like, hey, we got to go to admissions. We got to go do all this stuff. What's your decision? What are you going to do? And my little sister was like, Mom, she's a little overwhelmed right now. Like, and I was like, yeah, I don't know. But in my head, it was like, well, my goals was to play on a Division I team. And this was like my one opportunity. And so in my head, it's like, I feel like I really don't have a choice here. Like it's either this or I will not get a chance to play like at the time, Power 5 school, especially SEC. Like there's no other opportunity. So you kind of feel like the decision's made for you. But I still had a lot of emotions because I was going to be 10 hours away from home. And I was not expecting to leave my home in 2 weeks, and go into that camp. And so, there's a variety of things that you can be feeling in those moments. But you also I get so not aggravated. I get, bothered by the thought of like, if I had chosen not to go in that 2 weeks and go work out, and I had stayed in Texas and found, honestly, my skill set would have been more for like a Division 3 or Division 2 maybe, but at the time, but like if I had just not taken that leap and just gone for it, I think I would have always been bothered by the like, what would have happened if I would have just done it, you know? And so that sometimes will bother me enough to push me, even if I'm uncomfortable, to just go ahead and make the decision. Okay, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
See what happens. So a few things you might feel right after change. And I know I can identify with all of these. The first few days or weeks include excitement. Like you're like, dude, this is a fresh start. Like everything's new. It's exciting. But then sometimes...
What the heck am I doing?
Yeah. Then as time passes, and especially as you get into your new routines and you realize like, oh yeah, I really am away from that community that was so encouraging and helpful, you can be like, wait, did I make the right decision? Because maybe it's uncomfortable or it's just like not easy.
Yeah, I think initially there's a lot of excitement and there's going, whoa, there's like scared.
Yeah, which I would identify even in marriage. It's the same, you know, they call it the honeymoon stage.
Yeah.
It's like, yay. And then you're like, okay, you get back from the honeymoon and then you start your jobs and you realize like, oh, like who's going to make dinner every night? Who's going to make sure we're like doing all these things that are good for us? You know, you start like, oh, life sets in. And so I think it could be similar. People could feel that. You might have some loneliness because obviously you've left your people. And even I want to say this about Starkville, the people in Starkville were so welcoming to us, and the communities that I was exploring for school for our kids or whatever, so welcoming to us. But so it's not a matter of whether people are welcoming or friendly necessarily. I mean, that is a huge piece. If that's missing, that's like worse. But you can still, it's just that it's okay that you miss what you came from. Like I know that you can kind of feel that like everybody is here and everybody's so nice, but I still feel lonely. I think that's a normal feeling because it's not going to be the same. I remember when we first got married, I told my sister like, it's so hard here because the people I've met are nice, but they're not like so-and-so and so-and-so that were my friends from college. And she said, Bethany, that's really not that fair.
No.
To like compare. Like, of course they're not going to be, because those people, like we said earlier, they don't have history with you yet. And I think, at least for me, that's been the hardest part about most of our moves.
Well, like what those who, if you want to make friends, you got to be friendly.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think people are welcoming and great, but there is a point where you have to kind of step in and engage and stretch yourself, and you're going to have to create equity in relationships.
Oh, that's a good point.
Because you had
equity.
it before, but you got to go and kind of put yourself out there, create, not with everybody. There's certain people that you can go, maybe we can hang out or something, or maybe people at church that you meet, or just in the community, maybe at the school that you're connected to. So you've got to make an effort. Or maybe there's a neighbor. That would be best case situation, right? You got people that are closer to you, but you got to make the effort. And that's the tough thing too when you transfer all the time, when you move around a lot. You had these people, you had these close friends, and then you go back to it and you're like, God, I got to do this again. I got to do this again. And we've done this enough, moving around just in marriage with kids and all of it, that it's like, yeah, and it's worth it.
Yeah.
It's worth it. It just it took us a little bit longer to do it, I think, moving here. Not because it wasn't welcoming, but it was more of, we've got to get over this and jump into relationships again.
And I'll say I just grieved for a long time at what I lost.
Yeah.
Like it was hard. And I would encourage anybody out there that feels that I'll just say it's normal, and just know that especially if you're an athlete at Mississippi State, there are resources. We have a great sports psych department who can help you walk through that, like those stages of grief, because they're real. But there's also incredible people to build new community with. And that doesn't mean in building new community that you're forgetting those other relationships that you came from. You can still find ways to connect with those people that mean a lot to you where you came from, but there are incredible people here to connect with. But just to give yourself grace that it might take, some people are going to assimilate super quick. And it's like, they're just jump right in. But other people might, if you're lonely or sad or whatever, that it's a good indication you're probably really missing what you came from.
Yeah.
Or realizing what you've lost.
Grief shows up in a variety of different ways.
Yeah.
And different things that happen in your life. And I just, even for me, I didn't have this specifically, but I know it happens when you put the cleats up for the last time, like when it's done. I mean, there is a transition. I'd coached a bit, so I was able to kind of slowly let it go. And so it wasn't as bad. It was a little bit of an on-ramp, off-ramp. That was better for me instead of a straight done with ball. But even getting here and being back in the FCA world and then seeing how the athletic experience has changed here and just all the changes. When I was a 5-year guy and I'm like, well, nobody's doing that anymore. And like, I learned so much from being here so long, and this was like all I knew, and it was great. And I wish people would do that. But it's grieving that and how it's changed. I went through probably a year and didn't even know it that I was grieving that. So yeah, have somebody to talk to about it.
Yeah. And there's a few things as we're going to wrap up here short with this part before we get in the interview, but we want to talk about some of those things that can help you as you are leaving a place, coming into a new place. But a few other things that can happen is you feel exhausted from constant learning. There can be fatigue, mental and emotional, I think, fatigue, and also missing your old routines. This is my analogy. I remember being in COVID, and that was just a change and transition to a new way of being within just your community, like at going to the grocery store, going to church. Like we were forced to change some habits, and it can be very exhausting when you were being forced to do something that should just be taken for granted. Like I remember going to the store, and used to be a mindless task. Like you just go to the store, you pick out your stuff, whatever. And it became mentally taxing because they were like, we were in Austin, Texas at the time, so not everybody has the same experience, I'm sure, but it was like there were arrows on the floor for which way to go in the aisles. Or you had to wear, obviously the mask and try to stay away from people. And so what was something that was not even something I would think about became mentally draining. And it felt, because it was a change of behavior everywhere you went. So it just made everything that much harder. And so whenever you did need that mental capacity for things that were different, that needed that energy, I just felt spent. Like I was like, because it's like everywhere I'm having to be different. So that could happen. And just not having those old routines that are just taken for granted. Knowing how a coach operates, whatever. Now you're learning all these new things. Anyways. And then also, this is interesting, wondering if everyone else has already figured it out. Yeah. Especially if you have people that have been on the team already that you come into 2 or 3 years, they could already have, they do know the system. They do know the ways of things. And you're like you have that learning curve.
Yeah. Your new teammates and even some of your old teammates, like that have been here a little bit, can be a great buffer for this. Like can really just kind of run some interference for you.
Yeah.
And like just be a sidekick, things that you're like, why is this so exhausting for us to figure this out or to do this? And, to be able to go with a friend, at least for that first week or something, things to establish some new routines is a really helpful thing.
Yeah. And it's just part of...
Build some good bonds, too.
Yeah, growing and learning. So I like this statement here. Sometimes we make we mistake discomfort for a bad decision when it's really just evidence that we're growing. So, we can think we're uncomfortable. I made the wrong decision, but that's not necessarily always the case. I'm sure there are sometimes we make bad decisions.
Sure. Yeah.
But I would guess a lot of the times it's that we're just uncomfortable. Yeah. And that's not evidence that you made the wrong choice. It's just, and that would be a good, that's how I felt, to be blunt. When we moved here, I was really concerned we made the wrong choice because of how I felt every day. And I was like, this was not the place we were supposed to come, Yeah,
but you got to remember too, as you're going to be uncomfortable, being an athlete is just uncomfortable.
You're right.
And I think that's probably where the rub happens. I'm already uncomfortable on the field.
Right.
I'm pushing myself in the weight room. This is uncomfortable because it hurts to continue to push. And then you get off of it and you're like, well, crap, this is uncomfortable too. I don't want this to be uncomfortable. I need this to be comfortable.
Right.
Because all this is uncomfortable. And so you can get those kind of wrapped up, and it will get better as you change and shift. You'll find your people. But you also have to evaluate, am I making myself available to find my people? Am I putting myself out there? That may take a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And that's okay too.
Yeah.
But don't just stop and avoid it, because then, I don't know, you're gonna miss out on some friendships,
Which
some
is
connections.
a great segue into what I was going to comment on next. Is when you arrive somewhere new, you can either compare everything to your old place, like I mentioned when we moved to Florida, first leg of our marriage journey. I was comparing people I was meeting with the people I knew in college that's a very formative time for 4 years to go from 18 to 22. Those are really formative relationships, and you're getting to do life at a level that is just not normal in society. Like, you're getting to see people multiple times in multiple places every single day. That's not normally what happens with relationships post-college. So you can make and build friendships and history very quick.
Even on the spiritual side, you're seeing people multiple times a week, and you can have pretty valuable conversations. If you look at it now, you're seeing people at your church once most of the time, but twice at the most.
Right.
And so now you're going from, 7 times a week, let's just say every day,
right,
to just 1 or 2 times a week. That's a drastic difference.
Right. And that needs to be, an expectation shift.
Yeah. The depth of relationship in one will go really quick.
Right.
Really fast. The other takes a lot more time.
Right. So that's the state that I was in when we were in Tampa.
Yeah.
Because I've just come from college, great relationships. We had got married right before moving, so we had an awesome time with our friends at our wedding. And then I'm seeing people at church every once in a while. Like, it was just, it was a lot.
Remember we got into the married small group, young marrieds? Great group of folks. I mean, they were super fun, but we were obviously a little bit different. And I remember getting real open and honest one time, just in the group, real transparent. And then the place just went quiet.
Crickets.
And I was like, man, this is just like a normal thing. We would, being this open about stuff. Yeah, FCA. And then it was just kind of like, nobody said anything. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then I would get messages later. Hey, I'm glad you shared that.
Yeah.
Glad you shared that. I have the same thing that I've been struggling with. And I'm like, well, cool. It'd been nice if you said something in the group. But, it wasn't really that type of deal. But it was, it's just different. And that's okay that it's different, because you just haven't done a ton of life. And
so this other one is one that I'm totally guilty of, which is spend your energy wishing things were different.
Ooh.
That's tough, huh?
Talking about not being where your feet are.
I know.
Sure. Yeah.
But that is no judgment, because I know again, going back to our first year here, I was every day battling that.
Yeah.
And that's really hard. And that steals
real.
from you like no other. So Justin was saying, being open and available, you can make yourself available and still walk through grief. It's hard and it's conflicting, but that's where I would say go see somebody and have someone to talk to walk through it. Because if you're overwhelmed by your grief and you start to isolate, you are going to miss the opportunity to start something new. And so anyways, some tips for that are to just figure out a way to integrate by learning people's names, asking questions, join what people are doing, be curious, and then also give the place a chance before you judge it and say, well, it's not like this. But if you do catch yourself saying like, they're not like my friends, or they're not like my other team, or, like, that's going to push you into isolation if you allow your brain to stay in that space.
Yeah. And then you got to be honest with yourself and just being like, they're not going to be like them.
Right. Exactly.
You went to a whole different place.
Right.
And this is just, we've learned so much in really good situations. We've probably learned more in not very good situations.
Yeah, it's true.
And so just think about the overall formation of it. Like, this uncomfortableness, this different, is going to produce something that you really do desire. It's just the different and the frustration and the uncomfortableness is not the highlight of the whole thing.
Yeah. And if you want some encouragement of some stories in scriptures, different parts of the scripture, Abraham is a story you could look at. He had to leave everything that was familiar. Mm-hmm. Moses, he spent years in the wilderness before he was called out to lead. Joseph experienced so many transitions and unwanted experiences, hardship, before he was second in command in Egypt. And then Paul, the apostle, rarely stayed in one place for very long. And so those are just some that you could look back on. Whether you are someone who embraces change and does great when you move to a new place, or someone that might be struggling. I'm sure that there's some wisdom you could find if reading through those stories to encourage you. Do you have anything else to say before we transition to this interview?
I think you're a valuable piece to what is going to be built at the place that you're at. Mm-hmm. Like, what you bring is important and good. And if you choose not to engage in your current space and to put yourself out there, your team and the community is going to miss out on that. Mm-hmm. And you're in essence, you're kind of stealing from the place. You're just kind of using it by comparing it to something that it's not. Yeah. If you can embrace it and be where you are, you're actually going to be able to give what is needed to everybody around you.
And a cool thought might be that you can still be, I just want to keep making this caveat. You can still be struggling
100%,
but still be really trying to be where you are. Yes. That is possible. It's hard. It's not fun, but you could be the answer to someone else's prayer, a coach's prayer, a teammate's prayer.
Who's also struggling too.
Right. I mean, even with FCA, we have FCA leaders, and the rate at which our team, people leave and people come in, that's been so different the past few years. And so we always are like, man, we're just going to be believing that the Lord will send people here to replace these other people. So you can be that answer that comes, and it might not feel like it because, again, sometimes it might be just uncomfortable. But
you won't pull yourself out of the struggle by pulling away from it.
Can you say that again?
You won't pull yourself out of the struggle by pulling away from it.
Yes.
It's the class. I mean, people can use the bison, the buffalo example. Bison, when a storm comes in, as a herd, they huddle together and they run to the storm because they know as they get through it, they're going to get through the storm faster if they run straight to it when it's coming in, instead of waiting for it to get there.
To hit them.
And then they just wear it. They actually run to it and they'll get through it quicker.
But one thing that you said, and I don't know if you meant to say it this way, is that you said they. Mm-hmm. They ran through the storm. And so I think that's the importance of knowing that you might need some other people with you, depending, and I don't want to be ignorant here. There could be people listening that are like, dude, I like change. I want everything to change. Yeah. So you might not be struggling with this, but anybody that
I got in the portal because I wanted to change. I get it.
They're like, I don't care what I'm leaving behind. I mean, there really are some transitions like that do feel like that. Like it's like, all right, I need to move on. But
most are coming from either potentially getting cut. That happens, or. Yeah, and I didn't want to leave.
Yeah, sometimes too, there's some programs where they will
coaching change, and then you just didn't. Coaches want to get new people.
Well, some sports say I can only have you for 4 years at most.
Yeah,
and so if you want to take your 5th year, you are going to have to go somewhere else. And so people can come here, but no, I'm only here for a year or two, and then I'm going to have to make a decision. Again, which is a great tangent into the next segment of our podcast. Welcome, Maddy Anderson. We are so excited to have you today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Excited to be back.
Yeah, you've joined us a few times on the podcast before. Today is a little different because we are actually experimenting a little bit with remote podcasting, having you come in on Zoom. So thanks for being our guinea pig.
Of course, anytime.
Yeah. So Maddy was on the leadership team here with FCA, played soccer here, was such a staple and loyal leader here and invested so much in FCA. And she was here when we first got here back in 2022 and such a good, we were so thankful for you. There was a few others that were kind of pillars on the leadership team at the time, holding the fort down, moving things forward. And we've kind of got to watch, obviously, your story play out. And so as we were talking about off-season topics, I just thought maybe we could have Maddy on again and ask, because you've been through several changes and transitions as you've navigated post-college sports. And so we're going to have some fun talking to Maddy today about just change and transition, but also being in that place of hiddenness and waiting. So we'll get to that in a minute. I just wanted to remind listeners and Maddy to kind of bridge the gap between where we were last episode and this episode, just about those times of off season and how it can be like you're putting in all this work, but it's not necessarily something you get to go just immediately and perform and get that kind of immediate satisfaction of, look, I'm putting in all this work and now I get to perform in front of people. And so anyway, we've talked about that a little bit in the past. And then we've also, I've talked to a few athletes who have moved here to start this, on their team this year. And it just seems like I'm reminded how change can be, like, it's exciting, but it's also at the same time, like, once you get into that new place of change, you start realizing what you've left and realize what you had. And I know for me personally, for both of us, we've made several transitions in our life to new places, and they all are a little bit different. And for different reasons. But today we want to ask you about those things. So if you could just bring the listeners up to date again with just starting from Mississippi State, kind of what your journey was, and we'll ask some questions, once you get done with that.
Yeah. So right after I graduated in 2024, I got to go as a trialist with Racing Louisville in Kentucky, which is an NWSL team, and did that for 3 months, then got a contract for another 3 months. And then after that, just a period of waiting and then finding out I'm going to go to France, the north of France, and spend a year there in a town called Lens, which is spelled lens in American, if just a pronunciation.
Nice.
Yeah, and spent a year there and then got back and had another period of waiting and then got the blessing of signing a contract with Dallas Trinity in Dallas, Texas.
Yeah, so Maddy made that sound pretty smooth.
Lawns.
Lawns, yeah. And pretty condensed, but there's a lot of story within that timeline.
Oh, yeah.
That has played out.
Yes.
So the first question I had for you was, I think that, we were the same way. You have, as you're journeying through school and your sport, you begin to have this list of kind of expectations of post-college. And for us, it was, we were going to get married and we just didn't really know what else we were going to do post-college. And so we were like, of course, grad school, because we don't know. So it's going to be grad school. And then Justin got an opportunity to coach. And so that threw us into major decision-making mode on what we were going to do with that. So just like your expectations, leaving Mississippi State, what you were kind of envisioning or imagining would be your path or your opportunities versus what really happened. So if you want to spend some time talking about that, I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, I guess when I was getting done with college, like we finished our season and kind of wrapping up, that's when we were able to like sign with an agent and start talking with them. I thought it was going to be a little easier than what it was. I didn't realize how difficult the pro soccer world was in regards to getting onto teams, especially being a goalkeeper. It's a lot easier being a field player because obviously you can rotate those positions a lot more often and you can like play around with who you want to put. But with a goalkeeper, you have one goalkeeper and usually that's the older goalkeeper that you want and who has a lot of experience. And so it was quite difficult to find a team. And that's why I ended up getting a trialist position, which is really hard, but it was at least a blessing to have an opportunity. It's kind of like you're trying out for the team with, like you get to go and you're doing basically everything a regular player does, but you're just not signed. And so you're not getting paid or you're not getting the benefits of being a signed player.
So I have a question about that, if I can.
Yeah.
Okay. Since you're in that position of a trialist, how does that make you feel as far as, like, I'm just imagining like there could be a lot of anxiety. Like if you're basically in this space of like unknown or uncertainty for how long? Like the whole season? How many months is that?
So with a trialist, there's different like lengths you can have. I think a maximum you can have is like a month or something as a trialist before they have to make a decision to either let you go or sign you.
Okay.
But I initially was on a trialist contract for 2 weeks.
Okay.
But then they kept extending it and extending it. So, I mean, there was so much anxiety. Like it was so bad. All of us trialists had the same amount of anxiety and we're just freaking out every day, second guessing everything we did. Like, I didn't catch that ball. I'm literally going to get kicked out tomorrow. It's such a terrible
Yeah,
mindset to be,
that sounds
but
awful. But I mean, you
that's
have
kind
to
of
like do
what
it.
you're in.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah. Jeez. I mean, I could see like in other sports, like I know in football they have a practice squad, and you're like signed on that practice squad, and you're getting paid pretty well being on that practice squad. This sounds like torture.
What do you think the minor leagues like do you
Well,
feel
you
like
have a
it's about this?
contract.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean they can make that decision, but most are gonna give you a good bit of time when they sign you, depending on if you got drafted in a certain spot, like signing bonus wise. They don't want to like just push that away, or you might be tradable or something. But like, I mean, if you're a free agent sign, maybe the time is not as long, but you're going to get longer than what you were getting and have a little bit of security in some way.
That's the word I think I'm looking for. Like uncertainty and like the not having security.
Yeah.
Like just, and also going out there every day and you need to perform your best. Like, I don't know. That's
you
a
gotta
mixture.
play with your hair on fire every day, you know?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I wanted to add for people that may not know or follow soccer that did y'all accomplish for Mississippi State soccer the furthest a team has ever been in the tournament?
I believe so. I know we won the SEC regular season, which was the first time that a team has done that since team's been
I mean,
there.
y'all finished so well, and you came away with several accolades and awards. So,
let's say undefeated in the SEC.
Yeah,
I forget that.
Yeah, that too. So
that.
I just want people listening to know, like, how elite this entire team was and how elite Maddy is and was in college, to say, like, that was not unrealistic expectations you had leaving. You know what I'm saying? To be like, okay, I should get this opportunity or that. I mean, that is completely normal for the situation that you were in. And so I think that's what makes just your journey so helpful to other people, because it's like, sometimes it's just like not always what we think it's going to be, you know?
Yeah.
Despite all the data that says it should be, because you had all of that. You had all that stacked in your favor. And you also were battling an ankle injury throughout that last bit of your season, right? And into, I guess.
Yeah, that was crazy because I rolled my ankle very bad during the Arkansas game, which was like the biggest game. It was #1 team versus us, which we were #7 in the country. Like huge game, so many people out there. And then during warm-ups, I roll my ankle. I'm like, holy crap, like this, what am I gonna do?
Right.
And so like we literally boot my ankle up in tape. Like I don't even know how it moved. And then just threw me out there, and
Probably
I
gave
mean,
you
I
some
wouldn't have
meds.
wanted it any other way. I wanted to be out there. Yeah, that too.
And then you're on adrenaline.
Yeah, my team really helped out that day. Yeah.
Adrenaline helps in the moment.
What people got to remember too in soccer is like your defense, your line back there is so massively important. Like, and you're running that, right? Aren't you kind of communicating, quarterbacking that a little bit back there too?
Yeah, as best as I can. But
and then I guess the center back is doing a lot of that too. So, I mean, they picked it up. You did everything you could. It was, what a awesome match that was.
It was such a good game. Goodness. But yeah, and then I dealt the rest of the season. Like I was in a boot outside of practice, but then in practice I was taped up, then back in the boot, and then I ended up rolling it again right before NCAA's. An unfortunate like training incident, and so that kind of re-aggravated it. And actually I have an extra bone in my ankle, which caused some problems. So after the season ended, they actually put me in a cast to just kind of let everything settle down and rest for 2 weeks. But like I was trying to navigate the pro world. Like I was just entering, and I'm like, how am I going to do stuff if I'm in a cast? But I was just praying that like the cast would work. And thankfully I got out of the cast and like I had no more pain and it was completely gone. So I was able to navigate the pro world without too much having to deal with that.
Yeah. So after that, what happened? You stayed on. They extended your time there, right?
Yeah, they extended my time till the full month. As like as the time went on, like a couple trialists trickled out.
Mm-hmm.
I think we had eight, I think trialists, eight or seven. They kept two of us out of the seven, which is crazy. And
That's a
like
variety of positions.
yeah,
Okay.
so there was two goalkeepers as trialists, and then the rest were field players.
Okay.
And they kept one who she's thriving right now at Louisville. She's like become a starter, and I'm so happy for her
That's
because
awesome.
just going from a trialist, like where you're not expected to be a standout player to now you're a full-time starter is just incredible. So I'm super happy for her. Yeah, and then they pulled me and the other goalkeeper like into separate meetings and then told one of us that you're leaving the next day and then one of us that they're staying. And it was such an awkward because I'm really close with that goalkeeper too. And so it is you want good for all of us. Like
Mm-hmm.
you want everyone to have a contract. It's such a brutal world, but at the end of the day, it's just a business. So
Mm-hmm.
some things have to go that way. But I was
Mm.
very thankful to be able to be signed for another couple of months.
Yeah. So then how did all that come to kind of a close and then your next step?
So I was quite sad because I really loved it at Louisville. I loved all the people. I found an amazing church, an amazing small group. And at the end of those 3 months, when my contract was up and that they had the opportunity to re-sign me for the rest of the year, they told me that they wanted a goalkeeper with experience. And sometimes, like, you take that. I took it personally. I know I shouldn't have, but it was just like, I'm in love with this place. Like, I've given my heart and soul to this place. And then I'm just dropped like that because I just don't have experience.
Mm-hmm.
But like, a team won't give you experience, but then they want you to have experience. So it's just really hard with that being a
I
goalkeeper
just
in
want to
that
like
role.
put a little asterisk right here. I've heard other people outside of like sport, but post college, where same thing, like they come in with a great recommendation or some work experience, but ultimately get looked over or passed by because of that. So I think that's very relatable to those who are, early 20s when you're looking for a job and you are qualified, but you don't have the experience left. And that dilemma of, well, how am I going to get experience then?
Yeah,
you know?
it's crazy.
So it's hard. Yeah, that's hard to absorb.
Yeah, and most of the time, at least for goalkeepers, the only way you're going to get experience is by going overseas. Because a lot of goalkeepers are great, like here in the States, and they've had that time and that experience. And so you just kind of have to go overseas. They established a new pro team or pro league in the US called the USL Super League or the Gamebridge Super League. And I had really high hopes that like after my NWSL, like since I had the training experience with the NWSL, that maybe I could go there, but nothing really was pulling through. And there was this one team, Lens, Racing Club de Lens, and they were contacting my agent constantly and like wanting to have me on their team and wanting to set up a call just to talk about it. And so thankfully I got to have a weekend with family up in Minnesota, but during that time was when I was figuring out all this France stuff. So I got on a Zoom with them. They didn't speak any English. Goalkeeper coach doesn't speak any English. Head coach barely speaks English, but the president is fluent in both, which was nice. So she's amazing. I love her. And then my agent would translate. So got on the call and was like, okay, like this seems pretty good, but I don't know how I could do this. Like this seems impossible. I would have to go within the next couple of weeks. It's France. Like I know nothing about France. Like there's so many things. Like one thing that's super random is like, can I use my Apple TV there? Like, does that work?
Yeah.
There's just all these little things. Like, can I use my credit card there? Like, can I just everything? It was just such a frazzled time of trying to
Right.
figure out all these things. But also, my contract wasn't there. So technically, it wasn't even an option yet. So it's like always this awaiting of like, do I actually have a contract
Mm.
or are you just pulling me along?
We're going to get back to your story in a second, but I was curious what you felt like. I mean, I probably know the answer, but I'm going to let you answer. Like, what do you feel like grounded you at those times? Because this is everything you're describing is like total just uncertainty, a state of uncertainty, a variety, probably even times where you felt like you had some certainty and some comfort. You still knew, yeah, I can feel this for a few months, but there's still going to be a decision that has to be made at some point that I'm going to have to change and transition again to something else. So like, what do you feel like has been grounding for you in the midst of all the uncertainty?
The verse that's really stood out to me kind of just since my senior or fifth year of college has been Proverbs 3:5-6.
Mm-hmm.
Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him and he will make your path straight.
Mm-hmm.
That's been super grounding to me because like even in all the anxiety and like frazzleness or whatever, I'll always remind myself of that verse and being like, like this is an anxiety time and that's okay, but like cast all your anxieties onto the Lord and like just trust that he has the best thing in mind for you, even if it's not what you think it is. But when
Mm-hmm.
you do that, like your paths will be made straight and like they will work out the way it's supposed to for your like your specific plan that the Lord has laid out, but also for his maximum glory.
Mm-hmm.
And by no means is it easy to accept that, but it's something that's grounded me in being like, the Lord's not going to leave me. Like, even if it is in France, like, he will be with me in France, even though it may be hard. Like, there's going to be a specific purpose behind each, like, place that I have been,
Yeah.
whether it's me or if it's for other people.
Yeah. And you ultimately had to make that choice of, I got to do this. Like, I got to go.
Yeah. It, it kind of was like, Lord, I need you to make this clear for me. Like, if I'm supposed to go to France, let everything else fall away and just make
Mm-hmm.
that the one option. But if I'm supposed to go somewhere else, take that away from me. And
Mm-hmm.
so everything else fell away and it was just like that team. And so I was like, all right, Lord, I'm going to commit to this, like total leap of faith. I don't, looking back, it was so, so hard leaving my family. And
And your cat
yeah, I had to
at
leave my cat.
first.
Oh gosh, it was terrible. Um, but yeah, took the leap of faith. Looking back on that first night where I got to France and I was staying at the facility, I was like bawling my eyes out. I was like, I cannot do this. Like, Lord, please send me home. But it was a day by day thing for sure. Lots of
Mm-hmm.
needing the Lord to pick me up and give me strength. So
Yeah. And you
yeah.
said, weren't there some girls from Canada or something on your team where you did find like a couple people that you could actually like have conversation with? Because that,
Yeah.
like a lot of them didn't speak anything but French or maybe a couple other languages you don't speak. So,
Yeah. A couple girls. So and there was one Canadian girl at first. Her name was Laura, and she like was fluent in French and English, and so she would be my translator basically. But she was also a really, really good friend, which I grew close with, which was a huge blessing because obviously, like you said, no one else really spoke English. A couple girls knew a little bit of English, enough to have like small conversations, but nothing like deep, like a deep, abiding relationship with someone, which
mm-hmm.
is what my heart really longed for. Like I
Mm-hmm.
wanted the relationships that I had when I was in Louisville because I had deep relationships and like deep, challenging small groups. And so going to France is completely different. Like I'm all surface level with most people. And um, thankfully, some staff, like our trainers, that was huge. They knew English. So I was like a bit of English. So I was like, okay, at least my health will most likely be taken care of.
Yeah.
Important. And then our strength coach knew a little bit of English. And then the president, Andrea, she was a huge help in this. Love her.
Yeah. I think about international players that come here and what they immerse themselves in. And, some of them don't know any English at all
Yeah.
or bits and pieces. Thankfully, we play sports, which the game can translate, but there's obviously a variety of things that are strategy related or whatever, that it's like, you got to be able to communicate.
Yeah.
Coach Brooks, I don't know if we said this on the actual podcast last week, but we were talking about volleyball and how, there does need to be like in game match situations, real time, you got to be able to tell them things,
Yeah.
And if you can't, like that obviously becomes a problem no matter how athletic or incredible they are. It's like, you got to be able
Yeah.
to make those adjustments and things like that. So how long were you with that team? And then how did this opportunity you're in come about?
I was with them for a year and that was tricky because like I said, you need experience. Um, so when I first got there, I was under the impression I would be competing for the first spot, which is anywhere. Like you have to compete to get that first position. So I wasn't mad about that, but like I competed. I felt like I won that starting spot, but they told me they're going to play the other goalkeeper because she's been with the team longer and she's the captain. And I felt defeated because I was like, I can't control those two things. Like
Right.
you knew me coming in and you told me these things. And so I felt misled, but I just put my head down and told myself, like, the Lord gave me this opportunity. Like, I'm gonna enjoy it the best that I can and make the most of it. So eventually, like, through 4 months in, they made the switch and like I got to start the rest of the time. So I got a lot of minutes, thankfully, because that was the whole point of going there was to get
Right.
experience. So yeah, after that season ended, I got to come back and then just a lot of waiting again of talking with teams, trying to figure stuff out. And then I remember I was in Marshall's with my mom because that's like our favorite place to go together. And I got a message from my agent. And he's like, "Hey, Dallas wants to offer you a contract. Like, would you be interested?" And I was
You're
like,
like,
"Heck yeah." I'm texting him like, "Do it, do it, do it."
do not
That's
delay.
literally yeah, that's all I prayed for in France. I was like, please, I want to be close to home again. I feel like I've done this part, like that whole France thing was to grow closer to God in my personal relationship with Him, which was a huge blessing. And now that like I've done that difficulty and like spent that time in depression, I would love a season of joy
Yeah,
and
no joke.
gladness. So I
Yes.
thought I was like, yes, please. So yeah,
How many
we'll
how many
through all that.
games how many games did you get a chance to play in France?
I think 11.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
yeah, it was kind of difficult because towards the end of the season, I got a concussion in training. A ball just rocketed right at my face, and it wasn't handled properly in the return to play. That was my first like concussion, so I didn't really know what to expect. And obviously, the language barrier didn't make it any easier, and so I got delayed quite a bit. I think it was a month, like 8 weeks I was out, and so that was the lowest low for me because I was isolated. I didn't have my family to support me. Like I didn't really have any teammates that like spoke English that could come and like be with me and comfort me. And also you can't do anything when you're concussed like that. Like can't read, can't listen to music, like everything hurts. So I would just sit in the silence. But that's when I grew really close to the Lord and he picked me up every single day in that depression.
Yeah.
That was kind of a little bit of
So
tangent,
you
but
got moved to a starter and then you got a concussion. Or was that
yeah,
before?
I got moved. I think mm, November was my first starting game, in a regular season game, and then in March I got the concussion until end of April, I
Ugh.
think, and then played the last game of the season. That was beginning of May, and then flew home.
Wow.
Crazy. Okay, so I wanted to ask you okay, so a lot of times whenever we have these transitions and have to make these moves, we are obviously we're leaving something. But when we do step into something new, even if it's like not exactly what we expected or hoped for, there are opportunities to experience new things. So that's a somewhat positive way to look at whatever change, what is now being in this place at this time affording me that I get to experience. So are there things that when you look back at your time in France that you realize, if I didn't go, I wouldn't have experienced this particular thing? It can be anything. It could be food, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, just the whole experience. I mean, it's sometimes hard to look back because I do like that brings back the emotions of
Right.
isolation. But when I do look back, I got to learn a new language. I got to experience all that. I made some great close friends with my teammates, like close is relative, but like I still like message one of them and like I'm very thankful for we called them my girls is what we would always say to each other. So I grew really close with them in the best way that I could and I got to travel around. I got to go to Paris 3 times, which has always been on my bucket list. Um yeah, and I mean, just playing soccer in a different country, I never would have done it if it wasn't for soccer. So it was just a blessing to be able, it's kind of like a year abroad, just kind of like with school, but with soccer. So,
And you said that community
that's a lot
really
of it.
supported that team.
Yeah, that was really cool. The fan base was insane. Like I had all of them were super supportive, and like I had messages of being like, "You're the best," obviously in French, but then I translate and be like, "We love you so much. Like we really hope you stay." And then this one girl just like kept buying jerseys of mine and like going up and asking for signatures. I'm like, this is so cool. Like I've never had such an amazing fan base outside of Mississippi State. So it was really cool.
Yeah,
And
that's really sweet.
it was cool to interact with them in our own special way. Like, obviously, you couldn't interact normally, but it was still the special moments after games. They were really cool.
Okay, and I also have this question that people may be thinking. I know I've thought, like in those seasons of waiting, like whenever you were at Marshall's with your mom and you're back in the States, you had made the decision to come back prior to getting a deal, correct? I mean, you just, like you made that decision
Yeah.
to come back. Okay. Or even between,
Yeah.
before you went to France. Like, so was there ever a point in time where you entertained the idea of maybe this is just not what I'm supposed to do with my life? Or have you been pretty like, no, I'm going to exhaust every single option before I start going down that road?
Yeah, I've never really had the thought of like not doing
Not playing.
soccer, like, or playing it. Parents kind of mentioned like in the waiting after Louisville, between Louisville and Lens, they were like, well, do you like, would there, you want to stay here and coach? Like if you
Yeah,
didn't pick France, like what would you do if you stayed? And so just kind of talking about those options, but in my mind, I've never really wanted to. I've wanted to explore all the options possible. And because what a blessing it is to do something I love for a job,
right.
and being able to do that on a daily basis
Yeah.
is incredible. And so
I just think
I've
that,
wanted to just pursue it as long as possible.
right, for
Yeah.
sure. And I was just thinking, like, I mean, I'm sure guys that play in the minors, I mean, like how, I mean, you're still like super young and early in your career, like you have time, but, I do wonder that tension for some people who have been at it 5, 6, 7 years. Like, at what point, is it common sense? Is it doubt? Like, I don't know. Like, how do you decide, okay, I'm going to keep doing this? There's something there for me,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've talked to a couple of girls, and like as you get older, I think that starts coming to mind of like, what can I do afterwards? Because like I can't do this forever.
Mm-hmm.
So I think as you get older and later into playing, like you said, 5, 6, 7 years,
Right.
that starts to be more prevalent.
Yeah, because I would think that if this is like, no, this is what God made me to do, I'm going to do this, then it's important in those periods of waiting to not let your mind go there, not let your mind drift and be like, oh, well, nothing's happening, so I'm going to have to just give up on this or whatever.
Yeah.
But I could imagine that would be hard. And I think that something that, like, I don't know that this is going to sound really ignorant to me. I don't know that I really thought about this whenever we first got married and moved, but it is something that maybe we don't talk about a lot. It's just how much you have to go try things, maybe change jobs, like that you can't always, some people can get out of college and go straight into their career that they want, but a lot of people have to navigate a lot of things to gain that experience, whatever. Like, I thought it would be a lot easier to get a job whenever I left college too. And I could have picked like a variety of things, like just trying stuff. Like, it wasn't this specific lane that I was trying to run in. And so, I don't know. I think it's hard, but that's what I think is normal. Like, you should be normal in your 20s post college to have to navigate that and have to grow through that. And you mentioned isolation, which I'll link in the show notes, a book that I like about that. But it is in those seasons that the Lord, forms us and shapes us so much, because there's really nothing else there. It's like you're in the
Yeah.
wilderness. You're like, it doesn't seem like there's food or drink here and I'm
Yeah.
surviving.
Yeah.
And those are probably some of the most formative times, though, to where then you're prepared, which kind of goes along with that topic of the off season. Like, then you're prepared for what you step into next, like
Mhm.
there's a resilience, I'm sure, that has been built in you that maybe other people have not been able to experience based on, what their story was like. But you've had to navigate a lot of change. That depression you mentioned, like you've had to overcome a lot of things to get to where you are now. So, what is the position for you now? Is there already a goalie there? Like, what have they, in the agreement that you signed for Dallas, what is your opportunity looking like there?
So it's always competing for the number one spot, but as of now, there is only one goalkeeper that is signed, which is me. And so it's definitely I've never been a part of a team that hasn't had another goalkeeper yet. So, we have had a lot of transition. We changed ownership, we changed coaches. So just a lot of changes happened to where like we're still waiting on contracts to be officially signed. So, I'm sure there's a goalkeeper coming. I hope so, because
you're like
survive.
Yeah.
But
you'll get beat up in practice if it's just you. You got to have somebody else to rotate in.
Yeah. So in the season of waiting for that person, but I've had a blast here. I've got to reconnect with a lot of girls from like soccer past, from my club days, from college days, and so it's been really cool to connect and obviously be able to speak English with them too.
Yeah, no joke. And your family being in the same state. Texas is big, but still.
Yeah. I was thinking when you were talking about the isolation and like the season of that season, I'm obviously really close with my parents. You guys know that, and I'm sure a lot of people know that. But going to France obviously created that big separation and separation just from my family in general. And even with the time difference, like I couldn't like talk to them as much as I normally would. And so it was really just like, I feel like the Lord's showing me depend on me for every single thing. Like I should be your first call. Like I should be your first person to talk to. And not that it's bad to talk to my parents, but like depending on the Lord first in all circumstances and not relying on talking to like friends or family or running to Marshalls, as that. Like it was such an isolated area where like not even a lot of things around to where like I really had to depend on the Lord. And so I think that was the most important lesson from that season. And now he's blessing me, rewarding me with that and being pretty close 4 hours to my family back in Houston. So
yeah. Well, we're glad you're back. I hope that at some point we'll be able to catch a game. Like that'll be awesome if that can line up. I know. Okay. So
the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah. A couple of questions as we wrap up with Maddy here. If you were to speak some encouragement or advice to current student athletes who have, either they're coming in as a freshman, so obviously they're leaving what they've known, or, the portal is a thing and there's so much movement every year and they're coming here or anywhere. If anybody outside Mississippi State listens to this, what advice or encouragement would you give those people?
Just continue pressing on. A big thing when I was in France was just take it day by day, moment by moment. There's like a song that sings that, and that worship song I just keep playing because you really don't know what's going to happen in the next minute. You don't know what's going to happen in the next day. And so just continue to like lean on the Lord, hold his hand in each moment and like keep pressing on. Because it's going to be difficult and change sucks sometimes, but like the Lord is going to hold your hand through it all and he's going to bring it about for your good and his glory. And so you can trust in his faithfulness from the past and trust that he's going to be faithful in the future.
Yeah, it's such a discipline to have to stay in the moment and just keep going. I know that I've had some own personal goals and challenges for myself this year just to grow. And if I think about where I want to be or what I hope that my actions and my, behavior accomplish, then I just get really overwhelmed. But then I just tell myself, just start. You can't automatically decide and determine that it's going to be X, Y, or Z. You really don't know until you just take a step and then take the next step. Mm-hmm. And so I love that. You have anything to add to that, Justin?
No, I remember learning how to remain and the significance of remaining because we could have left in our previous spot that we were in. We could have found a way out. We had opportunities to go. And but man, what we were able to learn by just remaining and staying in it and continuing to focus in on what we were called to do, we would have missed a lot in that process.
Missed a lot as far as formation of our character
formation,
and who we are.
Yeah.
And sometimes, I mean, we've hopefully made decisions in our life based on just the peace that we've had from the Lord because decision making can be really challenging. Like sometimes you do need to get out of a situation and there's a way of escape and it feels good. You're like, yes, let's go for it.
Sure.
But then there's other times where it's like, that's tempting because I'm super uncomfortable where I'm at. But I will miss out. One lady, a friend of ours who used to serve with FCA here, she told me one time, just make sure you finish the process that the Lord wants for you there, because you'll just keep circling that mountain if you take it to, even if you move, you might still encounter the same types of struggles because it's like there's something he's trying to do in you and accomplish in you. So don't short circuit it is the point. And that's what Justin was describing, is how we felt in a previous position was like, man, it's uncomfortable. We could just get out of this real quick with this other opportunity. But it was like, man, we know we need to stay. And anyway, so it's good to have obviously that relationship with the Lord so you can discern through those things. Okay, this is a kind of ambiguous a little bit. I don't know if we can even really say this, but or have an answer on this, but how long do you think it takes to truly belong somewhere, like to feel comfortable somewhere?
Yeah, I don't really know, because I'd say even in my year in France, it was short, but I felt like towards the end, I built a somewhat of a community, and like it was hard to leave. Even though I was super excited to get back home, it was hard to leave those people and those relationships that have been built. But I think it just depends on how much effort you put into creating that community and creating those relationships to where you can feel like in a stable place of community. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of like a trick for my mind that helps in these times of change and transition that we've had. To have some kind of time frame to kind of allow myself a little bit of grace of like, you don't have to feel close to this community or this place or whatever so fast. Like I had a friend of mine who they had moved to different places, and she said, normally I kind of give ourselves like a year. It's typical you can find a church in like a year. And that had never been the case in any changes that we made, in any moves we made before. But when we moved to Starkville, it took a long time. And I was so thankful she told me that, because comparing other moves to this one, I was like, we should know by now where the kids should be in school and feel good about that, or church or whatever. But it took longer. And I just kept hearing her that little phrase in the back of my mind, like give yourself a year. And it's like, so I think that is something just to remind those who are in that time in their life right now, like give yourself time. Like there's no possible way that every single move you make is going to automatically make you feel like the previous place did, you know, like that's an unfair and unrealistic, I think, expectation. Some have been easier for us, and we've met people. I mean, we moved from Austin to Dallas to here, and our move to Dallas, surprisingly, like we made friends so fast there. And so that was unexpected, but I wouldn't say that is like the rule. I don't think that's normal,
Yeah. Well, I think even on the guy side, I think as a male, I think we have a little more capacity to jump into something and kind of day to day keep the routine going and feel like we're a part of something. And I think it's a little bit tougher on the female side because the relational piece is huge. And it's important to me too. I'm not saying I'm not, but I think we can kind of find the purpose in our work and what we're doing and be like, okay,
satisfaction.
I'm supposed to be here right now. Yeah. And so it can kind of present like a cover, like underneath. Yeah, I'm a little, I'm struggling a bit, but I've got this going on, so I have something to hold on to.
Yeah.
I think, on the female side, you have a tendency to be a little more relational, and holding on to those things. It's that doesn't carry as much weight. I'll say that.
Well, I would say in our moves that
Bethany was not real happy with me in the first year in Starkville. I'll just say that.
That's for another podcast. But no, I've seen, just kind of comparing me and Justin for what it's worth, but you seem to, like, with work, you get so much satisfaction out of literal work, you know, and I do too. I love accomplishing things and building things, growing things, but I think that that's the distinction, is like, you could move to a new place, and if you find something you love to go and do, it's like, yeah, you want friends, but it's not like you can just like enjoy and thrive being there because you're like, man, this work is so satisfying.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying?
Yeah. In some ways. Yeah.
Yeah. Which Justin is more, you're on the relational side. You're up there.
I can find a bond at work.
Yeah.
With guys or something that would be.
Or just the work itself.
Or the work itself.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Where, like, yeah, it could be a challenge, I think, more for the female, maybe. I don't know. That's our theory anyways.
Yeah, it's Justin's theory. Here we go.
I agree
it's
with
Justin's theory. We'll blame him. If you don't agree, it's his fault.
I think not having your cat probably affected that too.
Yeah.
You know, I think the cat would have been a nice little safety net for you there.
Which you did get to bring your cat over at the end, towards the end.
That was crazy. Yeah, when I got home for Christmas, I brought her back with me.
And how much was it? Wasn't it like pretty expensive to bring her? That's why you didn't take
like $1,000, I think, to get all the paperwork and everything figured out, and plus getting everything in France for her to like have a litter box and food and scratchers and stuff. It was crazy. But then on the way back, it was like $40.
What? That's
crazy. Sorry. 200 for the ticket, and then $40 for the vet paperwork.
Yeah.
It's insane. Yeah. But now she has a little French passport, so it'll be easier if I happen to have to take her again.
That is crazy. The cat has a passport.
Yeah. I know. I was like, I'm totally doing it.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
That's great.
I love that.
I'm sure you held the cat up to your face and you're like, you know how much I love you. This is expensive.
Seriously, I'm like, you better be grateful for how much I'm spending.
Yeah, I might need a picture of that. That's because I have no idea. I mean, does it just look like a passport for a human?
Yeah, it's like a little blue booklet, and then I can put a picture. Like, you can put a picture of your pet in there. You don't have to. Yeah. It just has her information and then her vaccine records and any particular thing pertaining to her health.
Do you have to drug her up? Is she pretty good on the plane?
I did. She honestly surprised me. She did so well. She meowed quite a bit on the way home. Mostly she just doesn't like moving. Like, once she's on the plane and sitting, she's pretty good. She's like, all right, we're staying put, like, I'll sleep, whatever. And like, I'd give her little pets and treats throughout. But once we like get off the plane and start moving, she like is meowing and everyone's staring at us. I'm like, it's okay. It's okay.
That's awesome.
But yeah, she did very, very well. I don't think I'd ever do that again for her because it's just very stressful, but I am happy I got to have her those last 6 months.
Okay. And one more thing, we are wrapping up here, but I remember you telling me your route on the way back. It was pretty wild. And you had your cat. So like, what was the...
So I could either take 2 separate trains with 4 things of luggage and my cat, or I could pay for like a $400 Uber, which I ended up doing or €400 Uber, because I was like, I'd rather spend the money and not be stressed out of my mind. So I took an Uber the day before my flight, got to a hotel, got settled in, and then the next morning woke up early to get to the airport, took another Uber to the airport, then checked in, dropped off all our luggage, went through customs, then border patrol, then security, then got on the flight. I think it was like 10 hours. And then on the way, was it 10? It was like 11 hours, I think. Then got to the airport, went through customs again, got all our bags, and then my parents picked us up.
And did you just like sleep the whole next day?
Pretty much. It's really hard, like, coming back this way. I don't know. Like, going to France is not too bad, but coming back, it's like I would pass out at 7 p.m. on the couch, and I'm like, oh shoot, what am I doing? Like, I can't keep my eyes open. But after a week, it was a lot better, and now I'm back to normal.
Yeah, that's good. Well, Maddy, we so appreciate your time today and speaking on these topics. I just believe it's going to encourage somebody. So we always appreciate having you on and being willing to help us out. And we're so excited for just your journey starting back in Texas and what all that's going to lead to.
Yeah, I'm excited too.
And we want to thank you, our listeners, for joining us today to talk about this topic of change and transition, and also just taking the time to listen to Maddy's story. We're always thankful that you tune in. Come back and join us again next week. Thanks for listening to the Created to Be podcast. To learn more about Mississippi State FCA, visit www.msufca.org and follow us on Instagram at HailStateFCA_. And check out our new Instagram for podcast content at Created to Be Podcast. If you would like to become a financial partner, visit www.fca.org/donate to sow into the work God is doing through FCA at Mississippi State.